Am I the idiot for demanding the truth from my ex about our secret son while hiding it from my fiancé? My ex-girlfriend, who is 25 years old, and I, who am 24 years old, met again after 7 years this past summer. We used to date when we were in high school, but broke up when she moved away. Our relationship didn't end on the best of terms, as it was complicated by some issues, mainly on my part, so her moving away was even more of a reason to break up. This past summer, I saw her again, and things were very awkward. However, we caught up and started hanging out as friends. I found out she is married and has a son. I just assumed he was her and her husband's child. Well, I have babysat for her son, who is 7 years old, without even knowing that he is mine a few times in the last couple of months due to her busy schedule. The first time she asked was because I was a last resort, but then I was more than happy to babysit other times because he is such a cool kid. With what I know now, I guess I gravitated toward him for a reason. Last night, she got into a bad fight with her husband and looked pretty shaken up. When I asked her what it was about, that's when she told me. Her husband figured out that I am the ex she had in high school who got her pregnant. Now her husband knows the child is not his, but he chose to raise him anyway, and they kept it a family secret. We come from a culture where intimacy before marriage is totally frowned upon, so her family quickly married her off and made it seem like the child was theirs. When she told me, I won't lie, I reacted pretty badly. At first, I told her she was lying, but she wasn't. She has only had 2 partners in her life, which are me and her current husband, and I won't go into too specific details, but the child has the same birthmark that runs in my family. I have it, and so does my dad. I noticed his when I met him and used this to build rapport because he gets bullied for it. After this conversation, I essentially told her to leave me alone and not to contact me. I am in a pretty dark place right now, and my fiancé keeps asking me what is wrong. I want to tell her, but I'm not sure she is going to have a good reaction. We had a small disagreement about me being around my ex about 2 months ago, so her hearing this is going to make things worse. I don't know how to feel right now. But above all, I'm still angry. How could she lie to my face about this? How am I going to tell my fiancé this? And above all, how am I supposed to be a father? The thought of knowing I have a child out there that I didn't raise makes me feel sick to my stomach and like I have failed as a man. But this is a complicated circumstance. Any advice would be appreciated. Thank you. To add, typos. Now for an update. Wow, I did not expect to get this many replies. Thank you all for your comments. After reading through this thread, I decided to clear up some things. 1. I'm not sneaking around to talk to my ex. My fiancé knows I do. My ex and I became cordial because we are in the same program at school, and avoiding her is virtually impossible. Watching her child was supposed to be a one-time thing. I only did it because I felt bad, and ever since, the child took a liking to me. 2. I don't plan on hiding this from my fiancé. I plan on spending the rest of my life with her, and she deserves to know if I have a child or not. 3. I have been seeing some comments blaming me for getting my ex pregnant and leaving her. Guys, I didn't know. She moved away and didn't tell anyone she was pregnant. 4. I am already working on getting a paternity test, but I don't think she has any reason to lie. Again, intimacy before marriage in our culture is a big no-no. Lying about this would reopen that shame wound. Why would she tell me something this grave to blow up not only her relationship but mine too? Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Birthmarks are not a valid test of paternity. You have no way of knowing how many men she has had intimacy relations with. She could be lying. Why would you take her word for it? Get a DNA test. Also, it's very suspicious that she waited 7 years and everything was fantastic with her husband, but she magically met you and asked you to babysit. Sorry, if you are the father, she planned this meeting with you, and it's probably because her marriage was on the rocks and she wants you in her life now. Comment 2. First, tell your fiancé exactly how it was. You were young and had no idea about a pregnancy. If she is true to you, she will support you through this as a united front. Do this together. This is important for your relationship. Then get the DNA test done. Remember, this is between the adults. The poor boy will be wondering what is going on around him. All the best. Now, for the update. It's been just under 2 days since I found out my ex is the mother of my son. Just under 2 days, and I'm already about to lose it. That night, sleep was nowhere to be found. I tossed and turned, trying to make sense of this whole mess. I mean, who wouldn't be a little freaked out in my shoes? After what felt like forever, I decided to call my fiancée Sarah. I thought I should let her know why I might be acting all weird and distant. I called her, and she picked up, sounding all cheerful. I told her I'd been feeling off, and she was like, "Okay, what's up?" She's always been really understanding, but she mentioned how weird it was for me to reconnect with my ex after all this time. Yeah, no kidding, Sarah. I agree. The timing is just super convenient, right? Anyway, I spent the next day trying to find paternity testing centers. I found one not too far from where I live, and I called them up to schedule an appointment for the very next day. Gotta get this over with ASAP, you know? That afternoon, I met Sarah for lunch at our favorite taco truck. We munched on tacos while I tried to explain my plans to her. I told her about the paternity test, and she asked if I was sure about it. I mean, what else could I do? I explained to her how important it was for me to know the truth about my son. She looked a bit worried, but said she'd support whatever I needed. That evening, my ex called me. She asked to meet at a coffee shop to talk about everything. I wasn't thrilled about it, but I knew I had to face her about all of this. I reluctantly agreed. At the coffee shop, she looked nervous as she sat down. I didn't waste any time. I immediately asked her why she'd kept my son a secret for so long. Her excuse? She claimed it was to protect him from the truth and her husband. Seriously? I called her out on that, saying it wasn't fair to me or our son. She went on about how her husband had been super controlling and that they never intended to hurt anyone. I wanted to yell at her, but I kept my tone steady as I pressed her for answers. That's when she offered to let me see my son if I agreed to keep things quiet for now. I left the coffee shop feeling more confused than ever. The next day, I went to the paternity testing center. I was super nervous, not sure what the results would show. I got the test done and was told it would take a few days for the results to come back. That night, I met with Sarah again to share what happened at the coffee shop. She was frustrated that my ex was still trying to control the story. We decided to have dinner with my family to change the subject and take my mind off things. Well, that turned out to be a mess in itself. During dinner, my younger brother mentioned a rumor he'd heard about my ex's husband. He said he saw my ex's husband with another woman at a local bar last week. My mom chimed in, saying she'd heard whispers about problems in their marriage. What a small world, huh? After dinner, I checked my phone and saw a text from my ex asking to meet again. I agreed because I was curious about her urgency and what she might reveal next. We met at a nearby diner and she looked totally panicked. She claimed her husband was becoming suspicious about our interactions. That's when it hit me. I could use this to my advantage. I pressed her for the truth about her husband. She reluctantly admitted he was hurtful and that she feared for her safety. I told her I wouldn't keep quiet anymore and hinted at exposing the truth. The next morning, I received the paternity test results confirming that I was in fact my son's father. I felt like I could finally breathe a little easier, but that was short-lived. I decided to gather evidence of this guy's behavior, starting with the rumors from dinner. I reached out to my brother to see if he had any more info about the other woman he saw with my ex's husband. My mind was made up. I needed to protect my son and find a way to confront my ex's husband. Thank you for reading. Edit. I received a lot of questions about my relationship with Sarah, so here's some context. We've been engaged for over a year and are planning a wedding for next summer. Sarah knows about my past with my ex, but is always a bit uncomfortable about me spending time with her. Things have been a bit tense between us since this whole situation started. I also found out that my brother doesn't know the other woman's identity, just that she was at a bar with my ex's husband. Now for the next story. I'm confused. I'm in deep with my husband, but a lot has happened in our relationship, and I'm not sure what to do. I am a 30-year-old female, and my husband is a 34-year-old male. We have been together 11 years, married almost 5 years. We have 3 kids together now. Our relationship has always been a bit passionate. We have always argued often. Over the years, arguments started happening less, We grew into a really good team together, helping each other grow, finish college, find careers, save money, buy a home together, and raise our kids. He left our marital home when I was in my 3rd trimester, pregnant with our 3rd child. His reasons were that I wasn't there for him enough, like giving him hugs. Background: we also had a few years of bedroom issues because he wanted intimacy very often, and I was closed off, dealing with emotional issues. I had felt very emotionally neglected from early on in our relationship. For example, if I was crying about something he said or did, he would turn it around on me and basically tell me I shouldn't be crying because whatever it was my fault. Another one of his reasons was that I wasn't there for him enough when he was going through gut issues, Helicobacter pylori. Background: it was a confusing time. He had trouble eating anything and everything. He was trying to figure out what worked for him, and I just didn't know how else to help him. So I supported him by taking him to the doctors for an endoscopy, tried my best to emotionally support him and be a listening ear, and be the one primarily taking care of the kids. For some reason, our arguments started increasing. His behaviors started changing before and early in my pregnancy. He started talking to a female friend who he hadn't spoken to in a decade, more often via Instagram direct messages and over the phone. We started hanging out with her and her family, but their interactions always felt weird. She seemed flirty to me, touching him, long hugs, smiling and giggling with him. She would direct message him things like, "I forgot how easy it is to talk to you," and he would tell her things like how her personality was nice, bubbly, and cheerful. Then he started talking to girls at the gym and adding them on Instagram. These girls are gorgeous, by the way. I'm not too ugly myself, but they are younger, good-looking, and in shape. He also started smoking marijuana and hiding it from me. I was more upset about the lying and hiding. I was concerned about his marijuana use because I was pregnant, but I was willing to learn about its possible effects and how to avoid it. Then, after a stressful month for him at home, with our arguments, pregnancy, responsibilities, at work, helping his parents, his persisting gut issues and mental health challenges, anxiety, he was taking Lexapro. He left. He slept in his car, stayed at hotels, and eventually leased an apartment that he began to furnish. Meanwhile, the kids and I were left at home without his support at what felt like a very critical time. I had a healthy pregnancy but was very tired. The kids had a busy schedule and I was working full-time. He would come and go from our house, sometimes taking the kids to school. We didn't know when to expect him or for how long. He was very flighty, angry, and argumentative. As soon as he had gotten the apartment, I found out through purchase notifications on my phone that he was on dating apps. He was also following girls he met at the gym on Instagram. Out of mistrust, I started snooping on his phone and found that he had an Instagram page dedicated to nearly naked Instagram models. He started watching intimacy videos regularly. He began driving out and meeting up with female friends from his past to smoke marijuana, do yoga, help them move things, and go to museums. I also found a poem or note about a gym receptionist he had met and how he fell for her, wanted to support her and her child, and thought she was the most beautiful person ever. Painful. During delivery, he was there just like he had been for our first 2 children. He was helpful, but maybe not as sharp and attentive as he had been before. I sort of felt like I could have done it on my own with the help of the nurses and staff. When we came home, he was helping me recover, cooking often and feeding me well, and taking the kids where they needed to be so I could breastfeed and recover. He would still sort of come and go, and he was still making plans with other women and female friends. I reached out to all of the women he was interacting with that I knew of from Instagram. Based on what he has shared and what they have shared, I don't think he has ever physically cheated on me. Around 5 weeks postpartum, he found out I opened a separate bank account. I did this because I was tired of his apartment that I didn't consent to, draining our joint account, plus the frequent dispensary purchases, as none of it was helpful for our family. When he found out, he argued with me so badly that he called my parents and kicked me out of the house. He still had his apartment. I felt uncomfortable with how he was acting and didn't want the kids around him, so I packed them, our newborn, and our dog up and my parents picked us up. He made me leave my car keys and house keys with him, so I didn't have access to either. He left the kids' car seats at the front door and made us leave as quickly as possible. It was awful. We stayed at my parents' house for nearly a month. He stopped by once, and the police got involved. He and my parents got into an argument. He wouldn't leave. My dad tried to literally kick him out. My mom blocked him, but my husband says he was kicked, while my parents say it was blocked. We decided to try co-parenting, where one parent would stay with the kids for a week at home, then we would switch parents. Eventually that got tiring, and he just ended up back at home. Now we are back home together after all of that. I'm trying to give it a real second chance. My parents never want to see him again. He has a hard time because of the incident at my parents', now saying that I didn't stand up for him and that my dad is not safe to be around. My dad has never been hurtful, for your information, etc. I have a hard time due to all the things that have happened. Emotional infidelity, abandoning us, and kicking me out, especially during the third most vulnerable time in my life. I try not to bring up anything or argue. I just try to be a good wife. I work full-time at home while caring for our baby. I do all school pickups, drop-offs, kids' extracurricular activities, the majority of all cooking for him and the kids, and much of the household duties. I also maintain enthusiasm in our intimate life and consciously choose to be kind, warm, and happy for myself and all of us at home. He does help around the house and is being a better dad to the kids. He's also in school working on his master's degree and has other projects he's working on. Things have calmed down a bit, no more apartment. We are coming back up financially. Throughout these issues, he brought up divorce often, almost as more of a threat. He almost filed. I consulted a lawyer once, but neither of us has followed through. We're sort of just back here with our messed up past now, trying to move forward. The kids are still doing well and happy. So yeah, I don't know. Just know that he still wants to blame these things on me. We are also taking a couples class and are on a trajectory to start marriage counseling soon. I still love him a lot and want a life with him, even though it seems very difficult to do that now with his relationship with my parents. I love who he is, his interests, what he looks like, and how he treats us when he treats us well. Just not the bad ways in which he has treated me. But I feel like I just need some validation and apologies because I see change in him, and I don't know, thoughts? Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. I can tell you are not willing to call it quits yet. That is okay. Big decisions take time. Start preparing now. Keep that separate bank account. Get your own car in your own name. Keep a go bag for you and the children. Ask a lawyer what else you should do, because he will pull something again. A man who leaves his pregnant wife and 2 children to go live in his own apartment and chat up other women is not a man you can count on long term. Comment 2. I had to stop reading halfway. There is zero reason to salvage this dumpster fire of a relationship. You and your children deserve better. Get a lawyer. Divorce him. Move on. Now, for the update, I don't even know where to start. It's been just over a week since my last update, and things took an unexpected turn during a family dinner at my parents' house. My husband wanted to come along. I was shocked, honestly. I told him he didn't have to, but he insisted that he wanted to show everyone, especially my parents, that he was committed to improving things between us. I mean, they already knew things were rocky, so I thought it was a weird thing to do, but I gave in. The more people support him, the harder it is for him to do this. He was a little late getting to my parents' house, so I told the kids to go inside and tell everyone hi. My parents live close enough that we walk there. I was hoping my husband would be there when we got there, but no, he was still at home, changing. He wasn't even dressed when we left, so I had to wait for him to get dressed and all that. And I had the kids go ahead. He finally got there and rushed us out the door. He was anxious to show everyone we were fine. My mom said it was nice to see us together, and I was happy she noticed. I thought it was a little awkward with everything going on, but whatever. My dad was trying to lighten the mood, and he asked if we had thought about a family trip for the upcoming school break. My husband looked at me and said we needed to save our money first. I brushed it off, but my younger sister Emma noticed and asked if everything was okay. I awkwardly laughed and said we were fine. Then my husband snapped and said we were far from fine. The rest of the dinner was uncomfortable. We changed the subject to sports and tried to enjoy dinner, but it was hard. After dinner, we all moved to the living room, and my brother Jake showed us a video of his baby's ultrasound. Everyone was excited, but I felt like I was fading into the background. I was stuck in the chaos of our situation. My husband stepped outside for a smoke, and I followed him after a few minutes. I found him sitting on the porch, texting someone on his phone, and it sent up red flags. He quickly put his phone away when I approached, and I asked who he was texting. He said it was just a buddy, but I didn't believe him. I let it go for the night because I didn't want another argument in front of my family. A couple of days later, I was cleaning the kids' playroom and stumbled upon an old phone of my husband's I thought he had gotten rid of. I plugged it in, hoping to see if there was anything worth saving. I was so curious about what was on it. I scrolled through messages and found old conversations with women from dating apps while he was living in the apartment. I confronted him that evening, and he was defensive. He said those were ancient history and that he was trying to change. We had a heated argument, and he walked out of the house, saying he needed space. He returned a few hours later, and we tried to talk it out. But the issue was still there. We went to couples class, but he seemed distant, focusing more on his phone than on us. I noticed he was still texting during class. A week later, it was my birthday, and I planned a small celebration with the kids at our favorite pizza place. He promised to be there, but he arrived late, looking flustered and avoiding eye contact. During dinner, he received a call and stepped outside to take it. I felt embarrassed in front of the kids. I asked him later who called, and he said it was work, but I felt like he was lying again. Tension boiled over when I noticed he had a new app installed on his phone that looked like a dating app. I decided to gather evidence. I took screenshots of what I saw on his phone when he wasn't around. I showed the screenshots to my sister Emma, who was visiting the next weekend, and she was shocked. I planned a family gathering at my parents' house, inviting my husband under the guise of wanting to show off the kids. I knew my parents would be there, and I wanted everyone to see what was going on. During the gathering, I confronted him in front of everyone, showing the evidence of his deceitful behavior. The room fell silent as everyone processed what was happening. My husband tried to backpedal, claiming I was overreacting, but my parents supported me. I watched as his face turned red, realizing his act was crumbling in front of his family. The confrontation left him speechless. That night, he slept on the couch while I took the kids to bed. The next day, he returned home to find the apartment packed with his stuff, ready for him to move back. He didn't say a word, knowing he had pushed me too far. Edit. I want to clarify that I have not seen my husband's phone. He is very protective of it, and he has never given me the password. I have no idea what he is doing besides what he shows me. The app I saw on his phone was a new one. He had never had it before. Now for the next story. Am I the idiot for publicly calling out my ex-girlfriend at karaoke after she moved on too quickly? My girlfriend of 2 years has been emotionally cheating on me for around 3 weeks. I accidentally found out by seeing her phone show his name and clicking on it. We are very open and show each other our phones if one asks without any worries. We are in college, and she has 3 classes with this guy. He asked her on a date, and instead of saying no, "I have a boyfriend," she said, "Sorry, I'm busy, but I wish I could go." He calls her pretty, and she loves it. She has been to his house to see his cats. Hopefully that's all. She met his mom there. They flirt in every class and will meet up outside of class. They send smiley faces and heart each other's messages. They have sent over 3,000 messages in less than a month. Good morning and night texts. How's your day? Just flirty and new relationship-like texts. She flipped out when I read these. She was begging me to stay, saying she will do anything, and I'm the one. Until now, I really thought we were getting married, and she was perfect. This happened last night, and I said I would try to stay with her, but told her I don't know if I can do it. I don't know how I'll trust her again. I asked why she did this and what I did wrong to not make her feel wanted enough. She said she just liked the attention. She promises it isn't me, but who knows? I know it seems cocky or arrogant, but I would like to say I am a pretty good boyfriend, and our relationship until now was really good. We resolved the fights we had fast with good communication. I guess what I'm here for is advice. Part of me wants to try to make it work because she was with me at my lows and helped me improve as a person so much, and part of me wants to never see her again. I do live with her and have lived with her for 2 years, young I know, along with 2 roommates and her room that she never uses. So if we broke up, I wouldn't have to share a room. Anyway, I'm just freaked out. I feel like I can't talk to my mom or my friends because they will hate her. I just want some advice or support. I feel very lonely. Do I just leave? I don't think I'm good enough to just forgive this. Sorry for the panic paragraphs. Anything would help. I feel disgusting. What would you do in this situation? To add, this is an hour or 2 after the post. I just broke up with her. She is getting her stuff and going to stay with a family friend for a few days, I think. We both cried and she kept begging, but I said no. I wanted to try, but I know I wouldn't be able to get over it. I'm going to just lay in my bed and have a beer or 2 now. I guess my awful stomach feeling is gone, but I still feel terrible. I don't want to process it right now, so it's YouTube time. Thank you guys for your support. It really meant the world in the few hours of my rock bottom. Almost forgot, it's been 7 hours or so. I talked to everyone close to me and they have given me a lot of support. I'm grateful for them and for you guys. I'll be okay. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Dude, you're both 21 years old. She's cheating, at least emotionally, maybe also physically. What do you want me to say? You caught her early on. Is she really remorseful or just sorry she got caught? Why do you think you need to make it work? She needs to make the effort and try to restore the trust. Will you ever trust her again? Do you want to become her prison guard for the rest of your life? I would dump her and enjoy my college life and focus on my education. You don't need her drama. Run. You need to talk about this with your mom and friends. You'll need their support after the breakup. And their opinions on your soon-to-be ex is not your problem. Control the narrative. Don't do breaks. You break up or you don't. If you agree to a break, she'll definitely mess around with this guy, if she hasn't already. Comment 2. Your girlfriend is having at the very least an emotional affair with her classmate. The type and frequency of her texts with him are those of lovers, not friends. She's been to his house to meet his family. The fact that she hasn't told him she has a serious boyfriend indicates that she is not committed to your relationship, is keeping her options open, and has very little respect for you. Knowing all this, I think you know the best path forward for you. Please tell friends and family because you're going to need to lean on them as you go through the breakup. Now for the update. 3 days after Olivia moved out, I got a text from her asking if she could come by to pick up some of her things. At first, I wasn't sure if I wanted to deal with that, but then I thought, why not? Maybe this would be a good chance to get some closure. So I agreed. She came over later that week with a box to put her stuff in. I just stood there watching her, not really saying much. I guess I was still in that mode where I just didn't want to deal with her. She started putting her stuff in the box, and then out of nowhere, she started talking about the good times we had together. Like, really? Now you want to reminisce? I just nodded and went along with it. I wasn't about to start chatting about our past. I just wanted this to be over with. In the middle of all this, she casually mentioned that she had been seeing someone new. I was just like, wait, what? It hit me hard. I didn't know how to react, so I just asked her who it was. She just shrugged it off and said it wasn't important. I didn't push it any further. I just wanted her out of my apartment. So she left with the box, and I was just standing there, feeling kinda numb. The next day, I was just scrolling through my social media, doing what you do to distract yourself, and I saw a post from Olivia. It was a picture of her with some guy, and they were tagged at a bar, of all places. The caption said something like, "New adventures with my favorite person," along with a heart emoji. It made me feel a surge of anger. I couldn't just sit there and do nothing, so I called up a friend who worked at that bar. I asked him about Olivia and this new guy. Turns out they had been going there a lot together, and my friend said they looked super cozy. I got the guy's name too. Apparently his name is Mark. Not only that, but my friend said he had a reputation for being a player. Great. Just what I needed to hear. I decided I had to see this for myself, so I planned to go to a karaoke night at the bar the following week. I was super nervous, but I thought it'd be worth it. When the night finally came, I got there early to scope things out. I was a bundle of nerves, but I managed to see Olivia and Mark at a table, laughing and sharing drinks. At that moment, I knew I had to do something. I hopped on stage during the karaoke session and chose a song that was really special to Olivia and me. The crowd started cheering and all that. I could see Olivia's smile fade when she recognized the song. Halfway through the performance, I pointed right at her and sang the lines like I was looking into her soul. You could feel the energy shift in the room as whispers spread about our history. I saw her face turn red, and Mark looked confused. After I finished, I stepped off the stage, and honestly, I felt this huge weight lift off my shoulders. Olivia caught up with me outside the bar, and she was furious. She confronted me about my public display. I just looked at her and said, "Great show," and walked away. I didn't even want to get into it with her. The next day, my phone was blowing up with messages from friends about what happened at the bar. They were all super supportive and shared their thoughts on Mark. One friend even told me that Mark had a history of being unfaithful. The more stories that popped up, the more vindicated I felt. My friends decided we should have a little get-together to lift my spirits. So they came over, and we just hung out, made some food, and had a few beers. It was nice to have that kind of support, you know? We talked about the whole situation, and they shared their own stories about past relationships. We all just laughed and joked about it. Even though everything still felt raw and painful, I realized I was going to be okay. I was surrounded by good friends who cared about me, and that made all the difference. It's going to be a long road to recovery, but I was ready to take it on. To answer a few questions, Olivia didn't reveal much about Mark, but her behavior indicated she was trying to make me jealous. Seeing them together confirmed my instincts that she had moved on. My friends' support has been crucial, and I appreciate them organizing a get-together to help me cope.